Hi guys, Virginia here, and I'm back with another 12 by 12 process video for you today, and this one's for the SpiegelMom Scraps design team, and I'm going to show you how to make these gorgeous little sequin flowers today. So I'm using the SpiegelMom Scraps Hexagram Mix, Crafter's Paradise, a tiny little clear seed bead, just some normal sewing needles, some white thread, a 1-inch circle punch, some cardstock, and of course I've got a little hole piercer and a little stitching mat thing, but they're not necessarily necessities. You can use a needle. So what I've done is grab my little hole piercer, pierced a hole in the center, then down 5 around that, and then another 5, and you can see it's kind of ended up like a star. So to make the flower, you are going to need some flat sequins with a hole in the end, and I'm using the gold glittery ones from the Hexagram Mix because I love them. And what you're going to do is basically pinch them and fold them in half a bit, in the direction that that little hole in the sequin is, if that makes sense. I'm going to do 5 of them. It's going to be a 5-leaf flower around the base. So there we go, 5. I folded them all in half. Then I'm going to grab another 5, and these are just going to remain flat. So I'm just going to pick them out of the mix. I do apologise for the glare. These sequins are just gorgeously beautiful. So there we go, I've got 5 of them. I've got some white thread on my normal sewing needle, and I've doubled it over and just tied a knot in the end. So I'm going to come up through that circle, through the center hole, pulling it tight, and then I'm going to start with the flat ones. I'm going to go up through that sequin, and then I'm going to go back down that outer first hole, and you can probably guess now it's going to go around in a bit of a circle. So then I'm going to go down that hole, back up through the center, and I'm going to continue to thread in those outer 5 holes around. I do apologise, I sometimes pull it out of frame. I'm not quite used to working with my camera zoomed in, so, but I think you kind of get the idea. I'm not sure whether this is how you actually make paper flowers. This is how I decided I was going to do it, and you can see it worked out pretty well first go. So this is my second one, and I'm just taking you guys through it. So again, up through that centre hole, threading that sequin on, and then I'm going to go down through the outer hole that I've pierced out around that little star shape. I do apologise, I'll bring it back into the frame shortly. Back up to the centre hole, place my sequin on, and down through the outer hole, and then when you pull it tight you end up with kind of a flower shape. You can kind of rearrange them and set them out where you want them before you pull that thread really super tight. But there we go, that's what you end up with, a nice little flower shape, and that's what the backhand looks like. Now we're going to start going through those inner 5 holes. So these will be the holes that are between the outer holes and the centre hole. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to come up through the back of those holes this time. I'm not going to kind of come up through the centre hole. I'm going to come up through the back and just kind of weed my needle through those outer sequins, and then I can go back down the centre hole, and you've got this lovely kind of bent petal shape forming on the top layer. So I'm going to continue with that up through my outer hole, well, not the outer one, the one in between the centre and the outer one. Thread it through my needle, and then I'm going to go down through the centre hole this time. So I'm just going to continue to thread them on. The reason I come up through the hole on the outer side is because you've already got those larger sequins in, so you need to kind of thread that needle between those other sequins, and it's quite hard to do when you've got a sequin already on there, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So I'm just continuing to thread them around, again forming that petal shape, just going around each of those holes. And I'm going to do the last one super quickly. Add this last bent sequin on, down through my centre hole, and now I want to come back up that centre hole, but I need something as a stopper. There we go, I'm just showing you what it looks like. So I'm just going to grab a little hexagon one from the mix. Doesn't really matter, you could use anything. You just need to stop it, and then I'm going to go back up through that centre hole, and you can see that that little sequin just kind of stops that thread from coming back through. Then I'm going to grab one of those little clear flower cup sequins from the Crafter's Paradise mix. I'm going to thread that onto my needle, and then I'm going to thread on my little clear seed bead, and then I'm going to go back down through that flower and down through the centre hole, and then I can tie it off, and that's my flower complete. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly tie that off. Like I said, just kind of threading it through the thread, and then I'm going to do a little loop back on itself. cut the excess thread off, and then I can take my scissors and just cut off that excess cardstock. I like to make the circle slightly larger than what you need, because then you've got plenty of room to hold it with your hands. Make sure you don't cut through the thread either on the back side. You will end up leaving a bit of cardboard on the back, but that's fine. Just don't cut through that thread, otherwise the flowers will fall apart. Okay, so I went ahead and made another one. I'm just going to have 3. I like odd numbers. I'm actually thinking now, after finishing the layout and taking the photos, I might make another 2 and add them to the layout, and we've got 5, so that they're a real feature on the page. But for now, we've got 3. Okay, so I've got this photo of Edison. She's dressed in a little ballet dress, and yeah, she just started ballet. She looks super cute, and yeah, so I thought flowers would go nice with it. They're all nice and sparkly and delicate, like a ballerina, aren't they? Okay, so I'm using the Pink Paisley Horizon collection for this today, and I thought instead of going with blue, which is rather predictable because it's a predominant colour in the photo, I'm going to go with pink. And this tile inspired pattern paper was on the top of my 12 by 12 papers, and I just loved it, so I thought I'm going to go with that. And what I'm going to do is kind of cut out the excess bits of these, what are they? They're octagons, aren't they? From the top of the paper, just to kind of, instead of a straight line, just to give it a bit of interest. So I'm going to trim them off. And at first I thought I would go with another pattern paper, and I thought pink on pink would be nice. And I tried that brushstroke paper. I didn't quite like that, so I thought pink cardstock, we'll try that. So I've grabbed out a light pink cardstock that coordinates with it. I'm just going to trim off the excess, and I'm going to have it about 2/3 of this pattern paper and then the rest the cardstock. And looking at it, it's a bit too much pink, but you'll see that shortly as I kind of go along and I let it mull a little bit in my head. It just gets a bit too overwhelming. So, okay, I'm going to use some of the 6x8 pattern papers from the 6x8 paper pad. I've gone with that beautifully patterned one with all the colours for my initial layer, and then my second layer will be this white with pattern stripes, or coloured stripes, and that's just going to bring a bit of lightness to those layers. I'm going to pop my photo up on foam, and I'm going to start to put out some die cut pieces, and I think this is when I think it's just getting a bit too much. So I'm going to add some of these. The idea was to add some florals along this line, the seam of pattern papers. So I'm just going to pull out a few of them, and I'm thinking, nope, it's too much. So I want to lighten up the layout. I've gone to grab some white cardstock, and I'm going to bring that back and add some of those flowers back in, and I'm starting to like that immediately better. It's adding a crisp feel to the layout, it's brightening everything up, and I'm just getting far more balance with a bit of white. Sometimes just a bit of white space works best. Okay, so I've layered a couple of those floral die cuts, the ones with the white borders across the top. Then I feel like they're going to just settle into that white cardstock background a lot better. And I'm just going to continue to sift through the rest of the die cuts. I've got the floral die cuts and the ephemera die cuts in this little container here, so I'm just going to pull out pieces. I know it's a rather travel related collection, but it doesn't seem to have stopped me to be able to embellish the page quite heavily for my photos, so you can always make things work, can't you? So again, just bringing out pieces. I used a suitcase as a layer underneath that photo. I just like the colour, and you cannot even tell that it's a suitcase, but it adds a pops of colour, interest to the right hand side of the photo. Also that little postage stamp with a heart on it that says forever. It just works. I've added a little globe in just because I was going to use the title Dreamers Gonna Dream, but there wasn't dreamers in any of the words, but there was dreamer, so I do end up just going with dreamer, and I think that the globe fits in perfectly still with that title, so that's why I've tucked that die cut in there. Just continuing to add a few flowers around the place, just using pieces. I'm going through the sticker sheet now, seeing what I can bring in. There's half a little blue flower just for some colour over the left hand side. Little butterfly. I'm looking for something to kind of form a cluster that can serve as a starting point for my title at the moment. Initially I was going to bring my title just directly down the bottom, but again, like I said, my title ends up changing, but I make this cluster work with a vertical design shortly. So I've just layered a little chipboard frame, a die cut heart, and then another chipboard flower on top, and this is forming a nice little cluster down here. I'm going to add some die cut flowers, just kind of spreading them around, switching them out, trying to get a nice balance. Going back for the chipboard, I'm going to repeat that heart shape up here to the right of the photo. And I found this little chipboard piece that says remember today, so that's a nice point there to kind of connect that photo with that random cluster I've got going out on the left. But it's another pop of colour as well, and breaks up that background pattern paper. A little chipboard, sorry, a die cut flower to the right of the photo, a couple of leaves, just for an extra pop of yellow. And now I'm going to bring in my little sequin flowers. I think this is where I was trying to decide on my title. I brought a little chipboard heart over to the left hand side of the photo, just again repeating that heart shape, and my third little sequin flower goes on that little frame flower cluster I've got going on down there. I want to bring in a couple more butterflies just to echo those shapes, so I'm going to fussy cut out a blue and a green one and just tuck them in. And I'm looking for my title, something to work with my title, and here I am. I found Dreamer. It was just perfect, nice and simple. Went with the photo, so I'm just trying to find a placement for it. And it seems a bit off and very much like it's floating in that position. So I moved that cluster over and it fit perfectly in a vertical underneath that chipboard piece. So I just moved that entire chipboard frame flower cluster directly under it, and I like that. I've got a bit of a vertical design and then a horizontal design at the top, so it's almost like a T, which is a bit unusual. I don't think I've ever done a design like that, but I think it really works. I quite like it. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go and just glue everything down. I'm rather happy with it. So again, as usual, I just kind of start from my bottom layers up, and I've just moved that die cut suitcase over because it was lost under all the flowers. There's no point in using it if you're not getting anything out of it. So I've just tucked it under the photo as a layer, and again just working from the bottom up, just gluing on the smaller pieces and using A to G tape on my slightly larger pieces. Glue on the flower, the butterfly. I've bent those butterfly wings up slightly, and then I'm going to glue the base of my little sequin flowers down. And I've skipped two. All of that is done. It's a pretty simple process. I haven't glued down this pattern paper, so all I need to do is just basically line it up, lift up one side, add some A to G tape, and then press it down. Cut off the excess flowers. Now I absolutely needed some more of that gold that's in the sequins on the layout, so I'm going to go around that giant, it's basically one big cluster now, isn't it, encompassing the photo. I'm going to go around everywhere and just add sprinkles of those gold glitter sequins, just kind of reinforcing that colour onto the layout and adding a whole bunch of sparkle and a bit of a magical feel to the layout. So just a little dab of glue, picking them up and popping them on. Really easy. Some in amongst these flowers at the top as well. I think I definitely am going to go and make a few more of those little flower sequins. I think they would be beautiful in another colour too, or even a rainbow one. Okay, so that's it for my layout. I hope you enjoyed the process. If you want to get your hands on some sequins, use the code Virginia15 in the SpiegelMom Scrap Shop and get 15% off your order. But until next time, bye guys.